So Vergil Ortiz grinds out a 12-round majority decision over Serhii Bohachuk in a fight he was pretty considerably favored to win. He had to work extremely hard. He was decked multiple times, but he managed to come away with the decision. Now, this was a fantastic fight from start to finish. The first round, Ortiz was winning pretty comfortably. He was he was establishing his jab. He was catching Bohachuk with counters on the way in. Bohachuk was trying to initiate with his own jab, but even though he closed the round relatively strong and scored a knockdown, which was eventually ruled, wasn't ruled at the time, was initially ruled a slip, and I believe at the end of round four was then officially counted as a 10-8. Ortiz did get off to a pretty strong start tactically. Was catching Bohachuk with a lot of shots. I said before this fight that I thought Vergil would probably win this by a stoppage between round 7 through 9, and the jab would be the key. Well, the jab basically saved him in this fight because all throughout the fight, Bohachuk was able to land and have considerable success on the inside. Physically, he looked the physically stronger of the two. He looked the more stable of the two. The only difference was Vergil was slightly more dynamic. He was excuse me, he was having more success at long distance. He was Bohachuk does not use upper body movement at all. His defense is pretty much his high guard and his high powered offense. He looks to overwhelm guys with his volume and his work on the inside, and he was trying to wear down Vergil with body shots. Vergil was shelling up pretty well to the body, but he was getting caught with a lot of uppercuts and short hooks on the inside. Uh, Vergil was trying to be a little bit slick and use some upper body movement, but you can tell neither guy is really natural to going backwards. Both guys prefer to come forward, and Vergil in this fight, unlike his previous fights, is not used to not being the bully. I don't like to necessarily use terms like weight bully because they tend to have kind of a connotation that the fighter is just looking for a cheap way out due to their weight advantage. But Ortiz has definitely been under favorable conditions in terms of the weight discrepancies between he and his opponents. I mean, the dude had to be resuscitated and be given CPR at the previous weight, and part of me wonders that with the type of effects cutting to 147 had on him, does he even find it easy at 154? I honestly believe that Vergil would have to move up to 160 to genuinely be comfortable making weight. I genuinely do still believe he struggles to make 154 pounds. Because if he's needing to be resuscitated and be given CPR to make 147, I can't imagine he's not still dry at 154. And maybe this is just maybe this is as a result of the weight cut, or maybe this is just a flaw in Vergil's game. Maybe this is a chink in his armor. But he tired as the fight went on. In the mid to late rounds, now he got a second win in the 10th and 11th rounds, which in my view he was relatively dominant, in particularly in the 11th round where he staggered Bohachuk. Between rounds 5 through 8, Bohachuk was really coming on. He scored another knockdown in the fight, I believe in round 7 or 8. It was a relatively similar shot. It wasn't a heavy knockdown. Ortiz's gloves touched the canvas, but that was another 10-8 in his favor. And Ortiz's shots didn't seem to have the same type of pop to it. He was loading up on his shots more. He was, more heavy-footed. His shots didn't have the same type of snap to him or the same type of speed. And Bohachuk was just finding a lot more easy to come inside, much more easy to anticipate and block his punches. But then again, I think Bohachuk also started to suffer some fatigue. Vergil started to box and move a little bit more in the 10th round, which is, in my view, a tactical adaptation he should have made earlier in the fight. And then in the 11th round, he started to exchange with Bohachuk, and 12th round was basically a complete slugfest, arguably the round of the year. But I thought Vergil was able to sweep the last 3 rounds and, in my view, edge out the fight 8 rounds to 4. But this wasn't exactly quite the emphatic performance Vergil was looking for in this fight. However, it was a fantastic fight. It was one of the best fights I've seen all year. If you guys haven't seen the fight yet, I would highly suggest any of you guys check it out. Vergil had to work extremely hard. He was tested all throughout. He was forced to use his back foot game, which you can definitely tell he's not exactly accustomed to or natural to. And this was a fight where, you definitely possibly worry for Vergil Ortiz and how his physicality potentially translates to 160 if he's potentially to move up there. If Bohachuk, who, is a pretty big 154-pounder, was able to bully him in spots the way he was able to, and with how Vergil wasn't really able to show the type of one punch knockout power and conviction that he showed at 147 pounds at this weight class, you know, you definitely do worry that maybe Vergil isn't quite the dynamic fighter many people touted him to be. Although I do definitely still believe he is formidable. But this was a phenomenal fight. I would suggest any of you guys, if you guys haven't seen the fight, I would suggest you guys check it out. This was a toe-to-toe slugfest basically from the beginning of the fight. I had Ortiz winning. Some people are calling it a robbery. Personally, I don't believe Bohachuk was sharp enough with his punches. I don't believe he landed the heavier shots in most of the rounds. He did score 2 knockdowns, but his ineffectiveness at long distance pretty much cost him. And I think Ortiz's consistency with his jab was able to win him the fight, as I thought it would. But I did think his jab would bust up Bohachuk and have more of a physical effect on him, but it didn't. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on the fight. Let me know if any of y'all saw the fight. Let me know what you all think. Have a good one.